Welcome to Backstage with Richard Ridge. I'm at the NYIT Auditorium on Broadway for my Screen Actors Guild BroadwayWorld Conversation Q&A series, which celebrates the vibrant theater community here in New York City and the union actors who aspire to have a career on both stage and screen. My guest is one of the world's most celebrated actresses who is currently touring the globe in director Ivo van Hove's stunning production of Antigone. Please welcome Academy Award winner Juilette Binoche.
Mother! The last and worst of you. Open your arms to me, dear ones. I buried you all. Even you, Polynikes. I lifted and washed you and made you lovely.
Well, first off, welcome back to the theater.
Thank you.
What are you enjoying the most about touring the world as Antigone?
Well, time helps to have a real, every day you have to connect with this, story and emotions and, what you want to give to the people, which needs to be really down into yourself. And so, because it's been a long run, you have time to really, go back to it, and the more you're going, the more I'm finding things. So I enjoy the length of it. But at the same time, I have to say that it's quite draining because the Greeks don't let you go home like this easily. They need you to get there and really go into the essence, because the myths are there to teach us about the possible transformation we can do on Earth while we're alive. And so that's why, with Ivo the director, and myself, we really wanted to do a Greek tragedy, because we know how far it's going, how important those themes are, and that we can still learn from them. So, Antigone, we started in last January, and now we're in October, and so it's been a while. But I'm happy to have given a year for Sophocles, because I think Antigone is his masterpiece, and Anne Carson, who's the poet and translator of this play, is also an amazing soul, and witty and intelligent, and has wisdom, and you can see through the words she wrote, that it's an exceptional play. So for the future generations to have this translation is, for me, the gift of this experience.
Yeah. How did the production come about for you originally?
Well, Frank Feitler, who was now the theater director of Théâtre de la Ville de Luxembourg, said to me, I'd like to finish my career with a production with you that we could go around the world. And so I said, yeah, why not? And he said, but I have to find a partner, a production partner. And he thought of Tony Racklin, who runs the Barbican for theater and dance. And so they combined together. We met together, and then they proposed me to meet with Ivo van Hove, and I met with him, and then it started like this.
Yeah, Ivo is such a brilliant director. What's it like working with him, and what makes him one of the most sought-after stage directors?
Ivo has this, ability to be present and really listening, and I think it's the first quality of a director, because you have to be able to receive, to have space in you so you can receive, and then, of course, give back. Because you have to work with the others, you have to work with actors. So if you're coming as a director already with your will and your vision, you have to, but at the same time, there's a back and forth breathing you have to create between actors and directors. So Ivo has this ability, and also he has a team he's been working with for more than 20 years sometimes, and when you rehearse with him, even though it's very tight, schedule, because it's only 5 weeks rehearsals and 4 hours a day, but yet when you're in the middle of, of rehearsals, you feel the team is with you, and the intimacy you get from those rehearsals is very special.
He works very fast, doesn't he? I heard through scenes.
Oh yes, definitely. He works for himself, I think. He works for making sure, that he has the whole play. But us as actors, we have to, rehearse on our sides in order, to feel comfortable with the lines and the memory. And you have to work on the side quite a lot.
I was going to ask you, the way you approach a stage role, is it different than the way you approach a film role?
No, I wouldn't say that, because it has to be with human beings and your possible understanding of the arch of the play and of your role, but you're using your own experience, your own emotions, So, I mean, energy-wise, it's quite different, because the film, it takes place on a long journey, but in long hours during the day. As in a film, it has to be so condensed. So you're preparing. Somehow your preparation is long. And I mean, I like to come to the theater like at 2 p.m. and the show is at 7:30 or whatever. But I need my time in order to get bit by bit into it. And so the concentration of energy is what you've got to give. Has to be so vivid and there. And so in that way it's different. But otherwise, the implication of it, is the same. Yeah.
No, I've spoken to a lot of stars. Some stars like to get there early to sort of walk the space and get themselves ready for an evening's performances. And then I see other stars who arrive like 5 minutes before a show starts. They just like to get in there and just do it.
Well, for me, because it has to be a space you create within yourself.
Yeah.
So the time you're giving yourself is a way of making sure that you're creating space in you. If you've been, busy in the morning, or that you're available for what you need to give at that specific time during the play.
Making that weird little bird sound. You know how they cry when they see the nest empty. So she cried, seeing the body bare. So she cried and called down curses on whoever did the deed. Then she pours water onto the body with both hands. She pours dust onto the body with both hands. 3 libations to crown the corpse.
And we rush out and take her. She seems unsurprised. She denies nothing.
Well, I want to go back to the beginning. Growing up, how did you discover performing, and what were your early creative outlets?
I think I discovered performing just as a kid, playing, the joy of playing, and somehow preparing for life. You repeat things over, you create worlds, and the joy I was receiving was so big that I think it stayed in me. Also because I was in a boarding school, and I think playing meant imagination, possibilities, flying off somehow, the classroom. And it's very creative. So you're inventing lives and you're inventing possibilities. And I think that I'm always feeling that, somehow through stories and films or theater, there's a creator in me that is, coming. And how does it feel? It's a way of knowing oneself, but also knowing and making a connection with the others. And I think one of the big themes in my life is the need of sharing. So in being someone else, or trying to understand another person's life or what they're going through, it just makes me feel closer to the others,
Yeah.
to myself. And then after that, when I was like 13, 14, I went to the theater quite a lot, because my parents also were in the theater world, and seeing a Peter Brook play, Ubu-Roi, I saw in Paris. At the end of it, it was so joyful to receive that play, that at the end everybody was standing up and applauding, and I said, if this can happen on earth, giving so much joy, I want to give it back that way too. I found my task just receiving, actually. And then after that, I directed a play at school called Le Roi se meurt, of Ionesco, Eugène Ionesco, who's a Romanian writer who was living in France for years. And and at the end of directing, we were working on the play as school students, and at the end of it, my mother was there actually, and I said to her, now I know what I want to do. It was so clear.
Yeah.
And I said, theater. And she said to me, well, it's very difficult. I said, yeah, and so what? And so that was so obvious, that was really my choice. And I have to say that when it's clear, when you recognize what you're here for, I mean, it really is helping in life.
You first gained recognition for playing the female lead in Jean-Luc Godard's Hail Mary, which I think is the American version of the film, right? A modern retelling of the virgin birth. How did this film come about for you, and working with Godard so early in your career? What was that like?
Right. I had to pass 5 tests before he took me in his film. Oh. And the last test, I had to walk around a chair, sing a poem, combing my hair, and being naked. And that was tough. And during that period of time, I was working in a department store as a cashier, trying to pay my bills and, my acting classes. And thank God I was in love with a man who was lovely, and so I was surviving, in other words. And my eye was like this because at the department store, I was crying one day because I was so exhausted. I had put things in bags, and I wanted to go to sit in that. We were supposed to, switch with the cashier. We were 2 at the cashier thing. And the old lady who was there for many years didn't want to leave her seat, so it upset me, and I was crying while putting things in. And I just, with my, dark, dusty hands, I wiped away my tears because I didn't want her to see them. And my eye was like this 3 days after when I was passing the test with the Godard. And he didn't see my eye, thank God. He probably saw more my ass.
You went on to much acclaim in André Téchiné's Rendezvous, and you worked for him again on the romantic drama, is it Alice et Martin? Mm-hmm. What do you admire the most about him as a director, and what were those experiences like?
I liked him because he knew how to be intimate, meaning that he would, whisper in your ear indications, and he was quite precise in Rendezvous, I remember, and very looking after me in a way, because it was my first, feature film as an actress, and even though it was a tough film to do because it was 20 degrees under zero, and I had just a raincoat and a skirt and high heels, so the shooting was tough.
Yeah.
And production was, I had to come on the set by subway and lost myself, not knowing where to go. So I was not really, especially at the beginning of the shooting, not taken care of. And then after that, when I came to the set late, they suddenly realized that maybe I should have a driver to help me to arrive at the time. But no, what he gave me this kind of, father
figure?
Father figure, but yes, I felt being taken care of, even though that in the film I had to have very hard scenes, like there was some raping scenes and naked scenes and being in the cold, but I remember that the first time a director was trusting me.
You gained international acclaim with your English language film debut in The Unbearable Lightness of Being, with director Philip Kaufman working alongside Daniel Day-Lewis. What are your fondest memories of working on that film and working with Daniel?
Lots of fun. There was a lot of love between us, and we rehearsed a lot, together. And it was a long shooting. It was 5 months shooting, and again, I was chosen a week before, so that was tough. Because I have to do a Czech accent in English. But I was helped a lot, Daniel helped me as well as, Philip. And he was also the same kind of Lasse Hallström, always saying yes. So if I wanted to do another take, it was always kind of open and go for it. It was a loving experience. I mean, my life was very confused at the time, so I was going through a lot of stuff, you know, going through all the emotion stuff that you have to go through as a young person. But the shooting itself was a source of joy and responsibility, and I was amazed to be chosen, you know, doing a English film. I was just, you know, very surprised by life, because you don't plan those things.
Do accents come easy for you?
I have a good ear, but it's work, and it takes time. And also, a lot of the films I've done in English, I didn't always have a language coach, because the production is smaller, and the production doesn't see it as something essential, or the director refuses the idea of having a coach is going to tell you what's right and wrong, because they want to have this sort of a, you know, the power of it. So it's been tough sometimes, because it feels like I was not given exactly what I needed to have sometimes, but, you know, that's part of it. You try to invent a way, and at the end of the day, the action shouldn't be what's most important. It's what's inside, because people receive the underneath iceberg, you know, what's in. I mean, if you can have the tip of it, it's great, but it's I wouldn't call it essential. I know that now it's very fashionable to do the technique being the bravado technique thing, but me as a human being and actress, I think that if you have the core, the inside, the truth of it is really what counts.
Throughout your film career, you've always returned to the theater, working with some of the finest stage directors, starting with your stage debut as Nina in The Seagull for director Andrei Konchalovsky. Oh, good. In Paris.
Not French, Russian. You do well in Russian as well.
Okay. What do you remember about that debut and working with him?
I love rehearsing with him. It was very alive and searching, and also because he was Russian as well, you know, it's very exciting for me. I went to Moscow actually during the period of communist time to prepare for Nina, and I met with the granddaughter of Stanislavski, and yeah, it was like a really great time. I love Chekhov. I think it's like, you know, he's so human, and he gives each person, each human being a space and a truth, and his words are so still relevant to nowadays. And it's like Sophocles. I mean, it's amazing that when it's truthfully done, written, and it's there forever.
You made your London stage debut in an adaptation of Pirandello's Naked for director Jonathan Kent, who worked a lot on Broadway here. What makes Jonathan such a sought-after director, and your memories of doing that?
His enthusiasm. I've never seen somebody being so full of enthusiasm and believing in you and going for it. And so that was risky. I mean, even though it was the Almeida is a small theater, but it's very kind of, you know, at the time it was very the theater, you know, the exciting place to be, and he was directing the theater and directing the play, and so he took me like a big wave, and so that was very exciting. Yeah.
And then you made your extraordinary Broadway debut in the Roundabout Theater Company's production of Harold Pinter's Betrayal for director David Laveau, starring opposite Liev Schreiber and John Slattery, for which you received a Tony Award nomination. What was it like living in the world of Pinter?
A little cold. I was trying to put fire in it every night, but it's not always. I don't think I achieve that every night. No. Because he's very witty, he loves language. But I think there's something somehow emotionally he doesn't want to get into. So he puts a lot of, I mean, of course, as actors, we can, you know, give that layer, but I find it very difficult. And I think, I'm not sure what kind of relationship he has with women. I doubt it. Yeah.
What gives you the greatest artistic satisfaction with doing theater as opposed to film?
The quality of the silence you're meeting, or you're creating together with the audience and the actors on stage. I think it's quite magical because the attention you're getting is where the information can get in.
Interesting.
Because you sustain it with the public, with the audience, and then and lifting those words inside of you, and make it, because it's not about you, it's about you're using your experience, you're using your body, everything you have, but then you lift it into another place, and that's words are interesting when there's wisdom in it, but you have to create the space for the wisdom side.
I want to get into your Oscar-winning film, The English Patient. English Patient fans?
I get applaud each time.
I love it.
Yes, wow. It was a beautiful experience. I have to say that there are times in life when it feels like everything is on a beautiful journey, kind of. And some other period is like, okay, going into the abyss of life. So, I mean, coming from Blue, that was so joyful, and going to The English Patient was really great. Anthony had an amazing ability to see, what an actor was going through. It was really, and would sometimes write, would stop a scene and write because he could see something didn't work. So he would take the time for it, or he would sometimes, I remember I had a hard time to play one scene on a train. That was the beginning of the film, and it was hard for me. And he stopped the shooting and made me improvise the scene before in order to play that scene. So he had the ability to use the shooting to have the best performances of his actors, and that was amazing. It was not frightened of time. It was not, even though he was frightened of time because he was responsible of making the film, come and finish, in time and all that. But he knew what was important, and Sozens as well, because he was the producer of the Unbearable Lightness of Being, as well as The English Patient. And when I asked him, if I could have some specific classes, for preparing the movie, he always gave it with no questions. He understood as a producer, you need to prepare for an actor. And that was genius for me, because it was sometimes, when I have to battle for production to understand what an actor needs, I'm a little frustrated by that.
Yeah.
I'm producing my first film next year, and it feels so good to be able to understand what an actor is needing. It's my revenge. But to go back to Anthony Minghella, I think that we're all, grateful to have such a creative and witty director with us. And the Oscar, it was because 3 months before, I'd been fired from a film, and it was such a painful experience. I felt like really at the bottom of the bottoms. When I got the Oscar, it was like a dream. That's why I said it must be a dream, because I didn't expect it, and I was so calm. I actually tell you exactly when they said my name during the presentation of the Oscars. Kevin Spacey gave it to us, I think.
Yeah.
I had a sort of image of a lake, a very calm lake inside of here, inside of my belly, really at the bottom. And I was in the lake. I was floating on this lake when he was saying our names. That's why I was not reacting, really. When you see the video, I think I'm not reacting. And my agent, my French agent, François Samuelson, he just gave me a big elbow. Wake up! Get in there. And so I was like, oh, yes. By the way, yeah. And so it was like a dreamlike kind of experience. And it really kept me humble, because I was fired 3 months before. So that was perfect. I think the plan in life is perfectly done.
Wait, you were let go from another film?
Yeah.
Wow, and then you get an Oscar.
And then,
Good for you.
And
Great.
actually, the producer-director who fired me, after that, I met him, I think it was at the BAFTA, and he jumped on me and saying, you know, I have another project, I have another project.
What did you say? Sorry, sucker.
No, I didn't say, I was shocked. But you know, when you feel blessed by life, you don't want to accuse or damage anyone. You feel the blessing goes everywhere.
Chocolat was one of my favorite films too. Chocolat fans? Here was this beautiful art house film, and I think everybody in America fell in love with chocolate because of you. I think everybody thought if they ate chocolate, right, we'd have the life experience like you all did in that film. Was that a lot of fun to work on?
It was great. It was great. I made a special chocolate for each of the characters, you know, and I worked with a chocolate maker in Paris, one of the best ones. And the thing is, Johnny didn't like chocolate, so I had troubles. But it was all right. I didn't take it personally.
Yeah.
But it was fun. I mean, it was great to work with Johnny, who has no ego issues, and it was a very smooth, you know, shooting, and I loved it.
Yeah. I saw her latest film called The 33. I saw it yesterday. She co-stars with Antonio Banderas, an incredible group of actors, which is based on the real events of a 2010 mining disaster. It opens in November. I told you before we went on, I had one of the most emotionally moving mornings watching that film yesterday. So when it opens in November, please go to see this movie, The 33. What was it like working with that director? Is it Patricia Riggin?
Exactly.
Yeah.
She, you know, is, I think she's Mexican. Yeah, she is. And being responsible for such a huge film about, you know, 33 actors playing minors, you know, it was for her a journey as a woman, you know, to face this energy, male energy. And it's been, I mean, challenging for her, but very interesting. You know, to master this situation, and what can I say? She loves actors, and you know, it's not an easy task to do, and I think that she is, you know, has this energy of always wanted to make the best of whatever situation she's in.
Yeah. Because you play Maria, if you tell the audience, you play the sister of one of the miners down.
Yes, Maria Segovia.
Yeah.
Who's a real person. And when I met with her, it was, well, we're very different physically, but in the eyes, there was something we recognized from each other. It was very interesting, because I never experienced that. You know, she was in a little kind of we call it in French, algico. I don't know how you call this in English, but sort of a small dressing room, and she was, you know, at the end of it, and our eyes went like, and we embraced each other as if we always known each other, and I said to her, "I'm sorry, I'm not Chilean. I'm so sorry." And she said, "It's not about that. It's not about that." And I felt so, you know, responsible for the story and what she's done, because the women really initiated the help of the 33 miners, because they're the one yelling because nothing was done. You know, the heads of the mine wouldn't do anything because they didn't know how to deal with it, and the regional government didn't move yet, you know, didn't want to do very much because they probably didn't know how to deal with it. But then when the journalist, I think CNN was there, and started to witness, you know, all the family, and she was really one of them speaking loud, then the government started really getting involved and really taking over and being responsible and helping, and they succeeded. And so the women, I think, in the story are very important as well.
My final question is, what is the best bit of advice that you've been given, either personally or professionally, that you live by?
Go towards yourself.
Yeah. Beautiful.
Go in you. I mean, make a connection with yourself, within yourself, because that's, you know, that's what you're going to be left with at the end of the day. So the connection you're making within yourself is really what counts. So don't, go into just the external, appearance of things, but just make a link within yourself. And you're the responsible one. So there's a director and an actor inside of each of us. That's why we're fascinated with this kind of relationship between a director and an actor, because it's actually in us. But you're the director, and you're the actor.